Well, we're pleased to have Cheng Yao Fan. She's a founder of Pi Network. Cheng Yao, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to begin and just ask you, what is it about Pi Network, if you had to explain it to a novice, that makes it so unique and advantageous for crypto investors?
Oh, first of all, our target audience is not necessarily investors. Pi is a utility token. We're targeting actually everyday people. Actually, one of the mission of Pi is making cryptocurrency and blockchain technology as accessible as possible. And accessibility includes that how can we minimize the barrier to entry. Barrier to entry includes financial barrier to entry, which is referring to the investment part. That's part of the reason why Bitcoin is hard to enter later, because it's so high. It requires a lot of money to enter for many ordinary people. Another aspect of barrier is technical barrier. That's why we make it easy to mine, and we make it most accessible in current day is through a phone.
Great. So as I understand it, the Pi coin can only be mined on the Pi network. So why would I want to mine that coin instead of just the Bitcoin, which is, the one that everybody, and their mother wants to be in?
Well, to follow from my last answer, basically the two reasons. One is it's free. Everyone, as long as you are willing to make contribution to this network and ecosystem, can participate. Second thing is easily done. You don't necessarily require some knowledge about computer science in order to set up a node, understanding the consensus algorithm in order to mine like Bitcoin. And you also don't need to spend a lot of money for your electricity to run Bitcoin node. So that's why it's easier to mine.
I want to come back to that point about energy because it's a very interesting one. Talk to me a little bit about the utility of the token. So if I mine it, what's the benefit to me as a user and a miner?
So the vision of Pi is to actually building an ecosystem that is having different kinds of goods and services that are available to be purchased in Pi. And what type of goods and services? It's not just like the goods is not just the investment product. The goods are just like the Web2 type of goods and services, meaning that it helps you bring you convenience or fulfill a need of yours that is outside of this lens of investment. It's literally for practical benefits than just a return, understanding of a return.
Gotcha. It makes sense. It makes sense. Have you raised any funding, and how do you make money?
We, as you know, the Pi network is free to mine. So in terms of the token side, we decided to give 80% of our supply for free to mine by everyone, and the 20% is goes to the core team. And out of all the coins, we have never sold any coin. Probably this is one of our effort to make it as compliant as possible. We have never run any ICO. We have never sold any token. To support the business, we are running it just like any other Silicon Valley tech startup, that we raise some funds on equity to support the operation of the company.
Gotcha. I want to go back to your point about energy, because last week, New York lawmakers passed a bill to ban for 2 years certain kinds of Bitcoin mining that uses energy sources that are bad for the environment. It's now waiting a final signature from the governor of New York. A lot of folks are looking at that story as kind of a barometer of what might happen, in the rest of the country by other states. Do you think that's a good move? And how do you think that affects Pi Network, especially your point earlier about, lower energy usage?
Well, its impact on Pi Network is, I guess, it's not necessarily directly impacting us because we're completely using a different type of consensus algorithm that is different from proof of work. We're using, a federated Byzantine agreement, by which I mean it's relying on a trust graph instead of energy. So this consensus algorithm relying on a trust graph to dynamically form quorums, which is a subset of the nodes. And inside the quorum, nodes are sending messages to each other in regard to whether they think this transaction is true or fraudulent. And then this consensus algorithm can reach finality of making a decision, okay, to make that determination for the determination for the network and write it on the ledger. So based on what I described, it's relying on a trust graph, which is what all these mobile phone users are contributing to. And that's why they're mining, the mobile miners. And then relying on that, the nodes are making decisions by transacting, messaging each other about their agreement or disagreement. By saying that, you can understand that any laptop today are able to be online and being able to message each other on the internet. So that's why by nature, this algorithm doesn't necessarily rely on energy. And that is the fundamental reason why Pi Network is not consuming a lot of energy like the classic proof of work consensus algorithm.
Understood. Final question, Pi Network has a huge following worldwide. To what do you attribute your success, and what is needed to further amplify the presence of Pi Network in the United States?
Well, we are actually, because I guess our headquarters, a big part of our team are actually located in US. US is actually one of the biggest community of Pi Network. However, Pi Network is a world project. Actually, we have over 230 countries distributed users from pioneers from all over these countries, almost every region of the world now. We are, not necessarily trying to increase a certain population because it's a world project, but in order to build on top of, to grow in every region, we need to basically continue cultivating more utilities, continue to build our community, continue to bolster our sense of identity of being part of the Pi network. And it's from the bottom layer, the blockchain layer, the social structure layer, the cultural layer, all three layers as a full stack of building a full vibrant ecosystem of Pi network.
What a fascinating company that you've built, and we thank you for sharing some of the insights with us on what you're working on, how it works, and your thoughts on its future growth. Shengyu Fan, we thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're pleased to have with us this afternoon Nicholas Kokolis. He's the founder of Pi Network. Nicholas, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'd like to begin with, kind of your thought as to what is it about Pi Network, if you had to explain it to a novice, that makes it unique and advantageous for crypto investors, crypto miners. What's unique about it?
Thanks for this question, Dorian. So Pi is really accessible to everyone out there. People can mine it by themselves using their mobile phones. So as long as you have a mobile device, you can participate. And then once you have mined it, and eventually, especially when we migrate everyone to the mainnet, which we can talk about it later, then you can use that currency to perform various activities on the network, which we call utilities. So Pi applications and other things. And the beauty of this is that even people who wouldn't be able to participate in this process, imagine someone in a country that they wouldn't have a bank account, or they wouldn't be able to, how do you acquire a Bitcoin, for example, if you don't have a bank account, or if you have no way to enter? So anyone can actually enter. And then once they enter, they are able to participate in those activities. They are able to pay Pi to ask another pioneer for some type of labor, for example. You can buy goods and services, or you can even get paid for services that you provide for others.
Great, that's great, and that's nice insight that you gave us there on how it works. So, what does it mean for the future of mining and crypto mining to have the ability to do this right in the palm of your hands? We think about the stories that are out there in these data centers that are just using so much electricity and energy, and it's so heavy. But you guys have really revolutionized how people can mine. What does that mean now for the future of mining?
Yeah, I think this is the way to go, because if you think about it, Bitcoin proved to the world that it is possible to have digital currency, and it works. So the first time that it was implemented, it had to be with the way it was to be succeeded. So to succeed, it needed to have servers, it needed to be what it is. No matter how we started, now the world operates mobile. We are living in 2000, it's not 2009 anymore, it's 2022, right. And we're going to the future. So more and more people have exclusively mobile phones and they don't have computers, or they're using their iPads and their mobile devices rather than. So if you were by saying that you have to exclude all those people from the process, then you're already making something very restrictive. So I think that it is the future, and I believe that even all blockchains are thinking towards that direction.
Great, great. Have you raised funding, and how do you guys make money?
Yeah, one important thing to know about Pi is that we avoided from the very beginning, and the easy way of making money by selling the coin through those ICOs that happened in the crypto space. So Pi has never raised has never sold any coins for many years now. We've been operating for 3.5 years. And this is an important aspect. We actually feel this is more natural, because usually for companies, they may be operating and creating utility and creating their business for several years before they can go on an IPO, and then all of a sudden having this unnatural early influx of cash can create unnatural results as well, with what we have seen in happening with other news lately that have been communicated. And in terms of Pi, we bootstrapped as much as we could, and eventually raised some money as part of a traditional Silicon Valley startup from private investors.
Got you. So where do you want to take the company? What's ahead on the road of development, and what users can see in terms of the experience, in the next year to 18 months, let's say?
Well, the goal is to have a very useful, widely accessible cryptocurrency that can allow a lot of people to be able to take advantage of the new utilities of blockchain. And by that, I mean, there is a lot of innovation that happens with smart money. So once money can have, some people call it smart contracts, there's multiple ways to think about it, but it's the first time in the world where you can have things like micro escrows or micro payments or other things that essentially creating a new era of possibilities in the world. So Pi is combining those facilities along with a large network of people participating to create something useful for the world. Specifically, that's for the longer term, as you said, a year and a half and beyond. In the meantime, from now until then, what's important is that we are currently in the process of completing KYC for the members of the network. So Pi is going to have millions of people who are crypto ready and KYC, then real people, real accounts on it. So we are currently in the process of doing this, and the goal is that once we have a large number of people who have initially KYC'd, to migrate their balances into their mainnet so that they can start exploring and using the currency.
Got you. Final question. We've just seen really an implosion in the cryptocurrency market, as we've seen in the regular, equity markets. Are you concerned about what you're seeing just broadly in the crypto space? And actually, is it good? Is it clearing out kind of the bad apples in the industry that and then allowing it to kind of move forward in a better place? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's usually an unpleasant thing to hear that any market may be going up and down. At the same time, it is a natural cycle that it happens all the time, and we have seen it in crypto multiple times as well, that there is a cycle. I also agree with the second part of your question that you mentioned that this helps possibly clear out some activities that are maybe happening with the wrong incentives. So things that are more less of pointing towards something useful, but more leading the world towards, let's say, games, financial games that they can trick people. That clears out the landscape. But overall, for Pi, as I mentioned earlier, we never raised, we never sold Pi to any person. So there's no one who can be sad that the down cycle is here right now, because no one bought it at a higher price and now it's a lower price because no one could buy it to begin with. So essentially, to the Pi network, the way that the currency is used hasn't really been affected by the external market at all. Because I can give you an example. Right now, people are spending 1 Pi to request to be KYC'd by the network. This 1 Pi, and everybody is paying 1 Pi, this 1 Pi is pooled and then distributed to some human validators, other people in the network who are helping complete the validation. So there's a pool of Pi that is then being paid out to the validators. So within the Pi network, before the crash, people were paying 1 Pi. During the crash, they were still paying 1 Pi, and after the crash, they're still paying 1 Pi, and they're getting paid the same amount that the validators they would. So there was completely no effect at the moment. So now in the future, of course, we all live in a connected world, right, and we don't necessarily, it's not necessarily always going to be living in a vacuum, but that's the current situation.
So what's a Pi worth? I'm curious.
So Pi is worth what pioneers make it worth. So in this specific case, that I described, you need to spend 1 Pi to get yourself KYC'd, and that 1 Pi is distributed back to validators, depending on how many validations are needed for each validation.
Great. Well, Nicholas Kokalis, we're grateful to have you with us today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.